Okay, so here we go. Evaluate. Anybody take a stab at that first one? 6 plus the absolute value of negative 6. What's that going to equal? 12, absolutely. Because when we take the absolute value.
Miss, yeah, I think we have the wrong section. Ours is like find AB.
Find the midpoint.
Oh, you know what? I'm probably looking at the wrong notes. That's why. That's why. Yes, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I had the wrong notes. So let's back up, and we're not going to do absolute value just yet. That'll come through a bit. We got all our labels right though, right? That part's right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to find AB. And we're given these 2 points. Okay, thank you for straightening me out. I need to color code these or something. Okay. Now, this means the distance from A to B. So the directions don't say find the distance. The directions say find AB. That means find the distance. So you need to remember that this, with nothing around it, over it, below it, just a plain AB, that indicates find the distance. Okay? Now, how do we find the distance between 2 points? Do you remember? You actually have a little formula for that. Remember, Mr. Mello?
Is it A1 minus B1 over like B1 minus T1 or B2?
Okay, so he is close. Let's use X's and Y's instead of A's and B's. He is very close. He actually gave me the formula for slope, which is related to all this. This one is distance, though. So you're on the right track, Alex. Can we think about what distance? How about if I said it's a big radical? Would that help you? It's a big, giant radical. Well, thank goodness I'm here, because I'm going to show you what it is. The distance formula says we take our x's and subtract them and square that. And then we take our y's and subtract them and square that. And then we add those together and we take the square root. Now you've done that before, so don't like stare at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, because I know you do. No one is ever going to say to you, write the distance formula. We're way past that. Now you just have to know how it works. So if you don't want to memorize that, it's a-okay with me, but you need to know that to find the distance, we're going to take our x's and subtract them. So we're going to take -1 minus 7. Subtract your x's and square it. -1 minus 7. If you want to do 7 minus -1, that's okay. It makes no difference what order you do it. Subtract the x's. Then you're going to subtract the y's. So that's going to be 3 minus 1 and square that. So how do I find distance? I subtract the x's, subtract the y's, square them, and add them up. All right, so let's take care of that arithmetic. What's -1 minus 7? -8. And -8 squared
64.
is 64. Remember, this is -8 squared, so it's going to be positive 64. All right, 3 minus 1 is 2, and 2 squared is 4. So I have the square root of 68. If your radicals break down, you should always break them down. So do you know what I mean by reducing the radical or breaking it down? The square root is 68. What do I think about? What do I do? Josh? Jacob?
Wouldn't it be like 8 and then the square root of 4? Or is it something else?
No, you're right. So this, I can break this down into your close. I can break this down into, well, I don't know, it's definitely 2 times 34, would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I'm kind of a meat and potatoes person. I don't like to try to get fancy. I just jump in, so I can take 2, now I can do 2 again, and then I'm done, right? So when I'm doing square roots, don't I look for groups of 2? So I got a couple of 2s. So that's gonna end up being 2 root 17. Remember, whatever you have 2 of comes out of the radical. If you had Mr. Miller, he always talked about it as jailbreak or something like that. I didn't quite get all that, but you got it. That's all that's important. So it's 2 root 17. Now, with that one as your model, would you try the next one on your own? See how far you can get. With this one. You're finding the distance. Okay, did you do 2 minus -5? Or -5 minus 2? And what did you get when you squared that? 2 minus -5 is 7. And 7 squared is 49. 6 minus 1 squared
25.
is 5, or 6 minus 1 is 5, squared is 25. Is that all right with everybody?
Mm-hmm.
And then we add those together and got, what is that? 74. I don't think that one breaks down because isn't it 2 times 37? And 37 is prime. So root 74 is your answer. One more distance formula and then you can go to lunch, okay? One more. Anybody feel brave enough to put it on the board for us? Come on, you guys. Somebody will put it up here. Oh, wait, no, we're not going to lunch. They changed the schedule, sorry. I mean, eventually you're going to lunch, but they changed the schedule. So we got a little more time. Nobody wants to put this on the board real quick? Here we go, Declan, thank you. Whoop, we'll throw that one away here. On your next line, no, that's on your next line. These new covers on these new iPads are not good. Okay, what do you guys think about Declan's work?
Good.
Yeah.
Good job, Declan.
Looks good? I think it looks great. He subtracted second minus first. If you did first minus second, it doesn't matter, does it? -8 minus -5 would still give you -3 squared is still 9. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Declan. All right, everybody got the distance formula under control? All right, next comes its partner in crime, the midpoint. Anybody remember how we find the midpoint of 2 points? So we have -1, 2, and 6, 4. Anybody remember how to find midpoint?
I was helping the Psalms with like the chairs.
Okay, and she didn't give you a pass?
She didn't write me anything. I think she sent out an email.
Okay. Get your notes out, we're busy here. All right, so who remembers how to find midpoint? Oh, no. All right, remember this. Midpoint is average. It's the average. How do I average two things? Add them together and divide by 2, right? I add them together and divide by 2. So if you got an 8 on a quiz and a 10 on a quiz, to get your average, I would add them, 8 plus 10, and divide by 2, right? That would be your average. That's all a midpoint is. It is the point in the middle. It is the average of the 2. So if I want my midpoint, I'm gonna add my x's.
Pardon this interruption. Teachers, I just want to let you know that a new schedule was sent out. The bells are set accordingly. That also affects our lunches, so there will be different lunch times. Please refer to your email to check those times, and bells are scheduled accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna average my x's. So -1 plus 6 is 5 divided by 2. I like just to say 5/2, but if you want to say 2.5 or 2.5, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's some version of 2.5. So all you do is add them and divide by 2. That's it. That's how you find midpoint. So 2 plus 4 is 6 divided by 2 is 3. There's your midpoint. It is that easy. Midpoint is average. Midpoint is average. Okay, so now we've got these guys. Average those 2 x's and average those 2 y's. And tell me what the midpoint is for that. Scout, what you got? What's your midpoint?
I got -3.5 and 3.5 positive.
Perfect. I say, I just leave them as improper fractions. She likes decimals. Some of you might like mixed numbers. It doesn't matter. Make sure you've got -3.5, comma, +3.5. Is that okay? Midpoint, easy. All right, quick recap, because in a minute we're gonna have to do both. How do you find the distance between 2 points again? To find the distance, we subtract
the
the x's, subtract the y's, square them, add them together, and square root. To find midpoint, we average. Okay, so in a second, we're gonna throw those 2 ideas together with this circle stuff. But first, we gotta review a little bit about how we handle circles. Did you guys talk about circles last year? Equations that look like this. They have x squareds and y squareds in them. Okay, so if you have an equation that has an x squared plus a y squared, it's going to be a circle. This is a circle. The center of this circle is at the origin, and its radius, so this is center, and its radius is 4, the square root of 16. Now, the reason the center is at the origin is because nothing has been added or subtracted to these two numbers. It's a plain x squared and a plain y squared. So it hasn't been shifted anywhere. It's just starting at the origin. So this circle, if you were to graph it, this circle would look like this. That easy. You don't need to graph it, but that's what it would look like. Now, if you look at that second equation, though, first of all, it's a circle. How do I know that it is a circle? What about the equation tells me this is a circle? X squared plus y squared. That means I have a circle. Now, if you've got something like this, that's not a circle. That is a line. Mx plus b, that's a line. If you've got an x squared and a y squared, you're a circle. Notice that there are numbers added to the x and y this time. See, different than here. If there's nothing added to it, it's 0. As soon as you start messing around, now your center is going to be somewhere else. And it's going to be at the opposite of what you see. So the x is going to be positive 2, and the y is going to be negative 3. So the center for this circle is at 2, negative 3. The radius, now look over here, I got the radius by taking the square root of that number. So guess what the radius of this circle is? Square root of 15. I don't know what that is, some decimal, but that's the radius, the square root of 15. Normally, you guys have spent a little time with that, but last year, who knows? So let me throw another one up here real quick, just a new problem. X plus 5 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 19. Where would the center of this circle be? The center would be at negative 5, positive 3. And the radius would be square root of 19. Now, it's easy, just something else for you to remember. So, to find your center, it's the opposite of whatever's attached to the x and y. If there is nothing attached, it's 0. And then your radius is the square root of that number. All right, let's look at number 5. Because now I'm going to ask you to do this backwards. I'm going to tell you that the center is at 1, 4, and the radius is 6, and you're going to come up with that equation. Okay? So what's that going to look like? Jacob?
Square is 6.
Okay, so at the end of the equation, it'll be equals 36. Okay, what's this first part here? Scout?
It's gonna be x minus 1 squared plus y minus 4 squared.
What do the rest of you think? Is that the right equation? Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, how about the second one? Let's let somebody else try this one. Eddie?
It's x plus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 100.
Perfect. That is great. I want everybody to look at that, make sure that makes sense to you. now we're gonna do a doozy. All right. So here's the deal. You're gonna write the equation of a circle. And all you know about the circle is that it has a diameter. Remember what that word means? Diameter. And the endpoints are at -1, 5, and 3, 7. I'm not plotting those, I'm just labeling them up there. If you want to put it on a coordinate plane and plot it, you can, but it's not necessary. I'm going to write the equation of that circle. Okay, Sandra, are you with us here, sweetie? Okay. We know that to write the equation of a circle, it was easy. You guys picked it up in a matter of 30 seconds. To do that though, we had to know what the center was and we had to know what the radius was, right? You do not have that information in this problem. So somehow you have to figure out the center and the radius so that you can come up with an equation that looks like this. All right, anybody have a thought? What? Find the midpoint, absolutely. Want the midpoint? This is a diameter. Isn't the midpoint going to be the center? Okay, how do we find midpoint again?
Average.
Average. So here we go. -1 plus 3 is 2. And half of 2 is 1. Remember, you got to divide by 2. Average, add them and divide by 2. 5 and 7 is 12, divided by 2 is 6. So we now know that the center of our circle is at 1,6. Would you agree? So I can start my equation because I know if the center is 1,6, this will be x minus 1. It's the opposite. And this will be y minus 6. All right, so that's some partway there. Now, I need to figure out my radius. Okay, so how am I going to do that? Where's the radius going to come from?
Find the distance.
Find the distance. Maybe from here to here? Or here to here? That will be the radius. Will you agree with that?
Yeah.
So now I need to remember how to find the distance. So to find the distance, that's your radical. You're going to subtract 1 minus 3 and 6 minus 7. Square them, add them up, and take the square root. Everybody remembering? This is a big problem. You have to remember how to do lots of stuff. Okay, so what have I got for my distance?
Square root of 5 here.
That looks like
That's
2 squared 4 and 1. So my radius is the square root of 5. All right. Now let's not get too excited. It's almost lunchtime. Let's not get too carried away here. Let's stop a minute and think. When the radius was 10, the equation was equal 100, right? When the radius was 6, the equation was equal 36. So if the radius is root 5, what is the equation going to be equal to?
5. 5.
5. Don't we square this, guys? Don't we square that? And if you square the square root, don't those cancel? And there is your equation. This is the answer to the question. Whoa. Guaranteed test question, but don't worry, we will practice some more. Right now you're going to lunch, and I need you back at, let me count, let's see. I need you back at 45. And I want you in, I gave you 5 extra minutes, I want you in your seat. So go potty, go do whatever you need to do. At 45, you're in your seat and we're ready to work, right? If you don't finish your lunch, bring it back with you.
I have an appointment at 10 for 30
So you are leaving.
I just had a question about this. So the homework.
P1 is due tomorrow.
Okay.
And you will just do this,
Okay.
rip it off and turn it in.
Oh, okay.
Because this is P2, and that is not a very good copy, but you can
Yeah.
it's kind of
So
slick.
is this due tomorrow?
Nope,
Oh, okay.
that hasn't been assigned yet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
I have my pink sheet.
Oh, let me check, let me mark you off here just a second, let me turn.